If you've been going around the good old internet looking for the right podcast to fulfill your New York Yankees needs, well, I'll be the first to deliver the good news to you. You have found it. Here on Yapping Yankees with me, your host, Mike Scudero, you and I will be discussing the latest news, takes, and talk throughout the entire Yankee universe. Oh, and there may be some ranting on my behalf. Yeah. Anyway, what do you say we get to it? Let's get to yapping! Well, hello there, my fellow Yankee fans, and welcome to episode 254 of the Yapping Yankees podcast. As always, I am your host, Mike Scudero, your friendly neighborhood Yankee yapper with the best yap in all the land, here on April 13th, 2025, with yet another extra large order of the Yappuccino for ya. Thank you. Well, how the heck are you, my friends? It has been yet another couple of weeks since the last time we spoke. Obviously, I had to take a 2-week hiatus because my Series 7 studying is still coming to a head here. I'm in the home stretch now. I'm about a month away. My test is on May 15th, so those of you keeping me in your thoughts and prayers, keep on doing so. Heading into the home stretch here. Finishing up my online classes, I'm going to barrage myself with some online tests for the better part of the next month or so until my head is ready to combust into flames. That is right. So we're going to be doing that straight through to May 15th, so that's going well. I hope you have been doing well since we spoke a couple of weeks ago at the end of March, right after opening weekend. So much. So much has happened since then, and we're going to get to every single little bit of it. Good, bad, or indifferent. Good, bad, ugly, you know it. We're going to get to all of it in the coming minutes of the show. But I do hope you guys had a good last couple of weeks since we last spoke. The weather, at least here in New York, I don't know how it is where you live if you live outside of New York, but it has been absolute crap. It's just been absolute crap. Not an understatement whatsoever. This does not feel like spring or any sort of baseball weather whatsoever. And especially if you live in the New York area, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm talking about most of the last bunch of days waking up to temperatures in the 30s. That's right. In spring, in the 30s. We're in mid-April. When are we going to get a grip here? I've even tweeted this a bunch of times, ranting about the weather and how crappy it is. Last bunch of years, I've slightly understood, despite my extreme and sometimes concerning hatred for the cold, I've sometimes managed to try to get myself to understand that the last bunch of winters have actually been very mild. So I understand the cold wanting to linger a little bit into the spring the last bunch of years, but my God, this past winter did we have our fair share of deep freezes. January and February sucked. Every other day, it felt like the tundra. In the teens, the 20s, maybe even lower than that sometimes. And this would extend for weeks at a time. Coldest winter we've had in years. So I said, maybe I'd be willing to trade that in. You know, I'd be willing to put up with that a little bit. If it meant the warmth coming in at least a little bit when it's supposed to. And what do you know, despite all those deep freezes in the wintertime, we're still dealing with this lingering cold crap. I'm sick of it. I needed to warm up a little bit. Seeing all these people go to these early season baseball games, whether it be in New York or somewhere else on the East Coast where it's also freaking freezing, bundled up like they're getting ready to endure a blizzard. I especially say this in frustration after Friday with the circumstances that happened in that particular Yankee game. But that's neither here nor there. So the weather's been frustrating. The Yankees have been frustrating. It just has not been the best last couple of weeks. For me personally, it's been fine. But as far as going out and dealing with the weather, dealing with my team, slightly frustrated. Slightly frustrated. So we got a lot in the docket today. Got a lot to talk about. Got 2 weeks worth of stuff to talk about. And I'm not going to spend every single minute on recapping every single little detail from every single game the last couple of weeks. This will be the first legitimate 2025 weekly recap segment after I'm done with the open here, because the last episode we only had opening weekend to recap, so it wasn't much of a weekly recap. But not going to go over every single little minute detail from every single game the last couple of weeks, as I'm not here to put you to sleep. I'm here to entertain you and give you some good baseball knowledge and information. So we're going to be just generally hitting on everything that happened the last couple of weeks, talk about the most important things from the last couple of weeks, as I'm sure you could imagine what those things are before I even say them. I'm going to try to hit on as much as I possibly can. Then after that, we're going to talk about some Yankees news, as always, the ever-shifting roster and injury news. Hit on that a little bit. And then the social media segment to end the show. I must apologize once again, as I did a couple episodes ago. Kind of screwed up with the social media segment again this weekend. Time just has gotten away from me the last couple of weekends with everything I have going on. But I posted the social media segment very late today. So I once again have given people little to no time to respond whatsoever. So there's not going to be much interaction with that once again. I apologize for that. That is fully on me. I meant to post it last night, but then the night just got away from me. I don't really know what to tell you. It's the best I got. It's the best excuse I have for you. So night got away from me, and then today I kind of wanted to see how the game would go before posting anything, so I posted it towards the later part of the game, if not already when it was done, and that was only about an hour and a half or so ago at the time I started recording now, so very recently. Didn't give a lot of people a lot of time to respond to it. I do apologize, but we will still end the show at that as always. But why don't we just dive right in and get right to the open, not waste any time. After today's game, I have so much to say, especially after watching one particular guy once again today. I have been very vocal about this guy for a while now. I sang my praises of him last year when he finally showed some remote signs of living up to any sort of expectations we might have had for him upon signing him a couple of years ago, heading into 2023. Of course, it has not been the case for much of what we've seen from him for most of the time he's been on the Yankees, and it has been morbidly disappointing. And it was yet again here today. I speak none other than our main guest, the starter for today, in today's game against the Giants in that rubber game matchup, Mr. Carlos Rodon. First off, I'd just like to say that if I were a betting man, and by nature I am not, little fun fact about yours truly, I have never actually placed a sports bet, ever. I'm not a betting man in this regard, or really much at all in anything. But first off, I'd like to tell you that as of today on April 13th, 2025, I would be comfortably willing to bet a sizable amount of money on me being on the rocket ship that takes the first human voyage to Mars before I bet on Carlos Rodon going one outing without allowing at least one home run. I have never seen someone who's supposed to be a pitcher at a professional level with the expectation this guy had coming in who has more of an inability to keep the ball in the ballpark. Now, I know what some of you might be saying, Mike, you're really going over the top for, what was it, the 15th game of the year? And yeah, I say this and everything else with the knowledge that, yes, it is plenty early. There is so much of the season left to go. I even said that after opening weekend, that despite how good the Yankees got off to a start on that weekend, that's not likely going to last, especially to that degree, because they were going crazy. I understand that. Long baseball season, peaks and valleys. I'm one of the first ones to always mention that. I fully understand that. That does not mean that you cannot express frustration throughout it while it's going on. Especially something as frustrating as this. I would legitimately be willing to bet that I could be a part of the first human voyage to the planet Mars before this guy learns how to keep the ball in the ballpark. I have never seen a professional not learn from his mistakes more spectacularly than Carlos Rodon. And not only at the professional level, but given what he has accomplished in the past and therefore the expectations he had when the Yankees got him. Especially in a season where, my God, do they need him to step the hell up with Garrett Cole out the entire damn year. And what is he doing? He's going out there and giving up home runs like it's going out of style. And I got to hear his defenders go to me every second of every single day. And you got to excuse me for being this frustrated. It's very fresh. The game ended not too long ago. That's why I'm this fired up. I always say that if you hear me after a few days after something happened and I'm more calm and reserved about it, and then if you hear me right after something else happened, you get a different mic. This is the different mic. But I hear his defenders coming to me at times saying, and my God, if you're still a Rodon defender, do I feel bad for you? I don't even insult you. I don't even get mad at you. I feel bad for you that you have to keep going to bat and coming up with the most absurd excuses to stand up for this guy. So many of them saying, oh my God, but opponents are batting like 144 against him. Batting average was never the problem. The problem with him has always been, especially since he's come to the Yankees, he can't keep the ball in the ballpark. In the most important of situations, too. Take today, for instance. Perfect example. This couldn't have come at a better time. Young-Hoo Lee, this guy who came over from Korea. My God, is he great. Did he slam the Yankees a new one this weekend or what? He's got 3 home runs in the season, right? They all came this weekend against the Yankees. But today, Rodon faced him. And for a while, Rodon was doing very well. This is so typical of him. Today's start was such a Rodon start. It's downright hilarious, actually. But he actually hadn't given up a hit throughout the first few innings. Pitching a shutout all the way through to the 4th inning, gives up a solo shot to Lee. All right, fine. That's to be expected. He's had so many starts where he goes 6 innings, 1 run, and just 1 hit. That 1 run and 1 hit just being on a solo shot. Because, again, he can't keep the damn ball in the ballpark. How many starts have we seen that final line if it's not just a complete meltdown? Which also happens plenty of the time with him. But anyway, gives up a home run to him in the 4th inning today. And then he sees him again in the 6th inning. By the way, the first home run was given up on a slider, a breaking ball. So that's how that was given up. A horrible pitch, middle, lower part of the strike zone, but right in the middle of the plate. And just gets golfed out as it fully deserved to. Then the 6th inning, there's a longer at bat with him again. And then this is where the not learning from your mistakes part comes through and what makes Rodon, and I've characterized him as this just very bluntly because I don't know what else to say about him anymore. He's a complete moron. I'm just going out there and saying that bluntly, that harshly right here on the show. Yeah, I usually don't say that too much about guys, but because I'm not that harsh, especially on the show, but he's an idiot. I don't know how else to say it. I've seen enough of it to be able to just come out and say it now. He is a certified moron. Goes after pitch after pitch after pitch after pitch. And then what does he do with runners on base after walking guys before that he shouldn't walk? Because that's another problem he has. He walks guys that he shouldn't be walking, which gets him into trouble. Even the dope Aaron Boone is smart enough to admit that much. And then after already giving up a golf shot to him on a breaking ball the first at-bat, he says, oh, I'll try with another one. I'm going to catch him off guard. Catch who off guard? And again, it's a freaking shot. 3-run shot puts the Giants in the lead 4-3. Yankees never come back. And they lose another series. Why would you give him another breaking pitch with 2 strikes? Why are you going after this guy who already hit a home run off you with anything but your best pitch? And he's done this so many times before, he never learns. He never learns. Anything that happens to him or anybody else who doesn't learn from their mistakes after once, maybe twice. We all make mistakes. We're human beings. I get that. I'm lenient towards guys who do that. But how many times have we seen this from Carlos Rodon? How many times? Walking guys you're not supposed to walk. Not being able to keep pitches in the ballpark. Not being able to learn from your mistakes. Sometimes with the very same hitter, like today. We need this guy to step up, and he's doing anything but that. There's only one pitcher in the entire rotation who's stepping up with an ERA in the mid-1s, and that is Mr. Max Fried. I praise the Yankees for pivoting and getting him right after they lost out on Soto. I know it's only been a handful of starts with him, and there's a lot of season left to go. I know that with all these guys. But let me tell you something right now. Max Fried is the only saving grace in this rotation. That's a concern that I had even at the end of spring training after all the starting pitching injuries, was that Max Fried would be the only one, and maybe Carlos Rodon, but I wouldn't trust him as far as I could throw overthrow him. And thank God I made sure to include that sentiment because my God did that come true. Everybody else in this rotation, I know it's not even fully the Yankees' fault because of all the injuries that happened. Nobody could have known that Cole was going to miss the entire year or that we'd be missing Heel till July. I know we're getting Clark Schmidt back in a couple of days, but we even missed the first 2 to 3 weeks with him. You need everybody you could get right about now. They got nobody left. The Yankees legit have no pitching right now, especially starting pitching. Every single day, if Max Fried isn't pitching, I'm like, who the hell do you turn to? I know it's early, but it's not a good problem to have. It's not good. Anytime this team lately does not score like 7 or 8 or more runs than that even, it's pretty much a loss. I feel like the staff gives up like at least 4 or 5 runs almost every single day. The pitchers collectively. The Yankees starting rotation is the worst in the league right now. Going into yesterday's game, they had a 5.46 ERA altogether, and that's with Max Fried doing well. Could you imagine if they had a 5th starter other than him? That was bad? There'd be no hope then. League worst starting rotation for a team that had probably a top 3 rotation on paper heading into spring training before the injuries hit. There are a lot of things that I do blame the Yankees for, like not getting a third baseman before the season started and not bulking up the bullpen a little bit more perhaps. Maybe just another arm or 2, smaller moves. It didn't have to be anything major. The rotation's not one of them because I understand that a great deal of their turmoil without Cole and without Heel and even without Schmidt is just injury crap. I get it. There's not much you could do about that. I mean, there's a discussion to be had about conditioning and training and whatnot. We've talked about that a million times the last 6 years. Preaching to the choir with that one. But they got no pitching, guys. They got no pitching. And all the guys like Carlos Rodon, who you expect to step up because you're paying them a lot of money and you expected so much from them. He's a guy who's thrown a no-hitter. He's a guy who's had 300 strikeout seasons. You know he's got good stuff, but most of the time he's been on the Yankees, it's been crap. It's been complete crap. And I'm sick of watching this guy go out there every single outing and making it seem like he's got to give up at least 1 home run, otherwise he's not going to sleep that night. The home runs and the walks makes me mental with him because he's not learning from it. He goes out there and it's the same thing every damn time. I understand people make mistakes. I understand nobody's perfect. I get all of this. If you guys haven't been listening to me for long enough already, I get all of that. But nothing makes me crazier than someone who makes the same mistake so many times and they just don't learn. I understand if it happens again every once in a while, especially in baseball. Things happen in sports. I get it. But how often does it happen with this guy? It's the same thing. Same thing over and over again. It's like I'm in a damn simulation over here. I feel like I'm in a time loop. I feel like it's Doctor Strange at the end when he keeps on rewinding time with Dormammu, and he even makes him freaking crazy. My Marvel fans will get that reference. Everybody else, I don't know what to tell you. But I feel like I'm in a time loop. 5.46 starter ERA going into yesterday's game. And with Rodon's start today especially, I'm sure that got even more nice. Will Warren didn't do badly yesterday. But, I mean, Rodon definitely didn't help any calls today. I mean, you just look up and down this rotation, though. It's really freaking bad, guys. Max Fried, hats off to him. Because my guy has a 1.56 ERA. So good on him. 2-0, 1.56 ERA, 21 strikeouts. I love what I'm seeing so far, and I'm seeing exactly what I expected of him. Then you have Carlos Rodon. 1-3, 5.48. He gets his strikeouts, but does he learn from his mistakes? No, he doesn't. Does he make adjustments? No, he doesn't. And that's not even mentioning how much of a mental patient he is with his emotions, keeping everything in check. Listen, I've praised him when he did well at certain points last year, but he had that couple of month time period where he had absolute meltdowns for weeks and weeks and weeks straight, because again, he just doesn't know how to rope himself in mentally and emotionally when he goes through rough periods of time. It's a real problem. And he is not starting this season off good, too. And that's not even mentioning the travesty of 2023 with him. I don't know what to say about him anymore, bro. I mean, I don't know. It's getting to be a real problem. And I cannot believe that we have to be stuck with him for 3 more years. I just don't think he's ever going to live up to what the Yankees expected of him at this point. I really don't. It's sad. I had such high expectations for him, and I couldn't wait for him and Cole to be in the same rotation. And then before this year, I couldn't wait for Cole and Fried to be in the same rotation, and then Cole just had to be taken away from us because, why not? Why not? And now Fried's all they got. So Fried doing as good as he's doing, Rodon doing as bad as he's doing. And then you have Carlos Carrasco. As you remember when I was saying in spring training, you won't see this guy in the rotation unless there is absolute travesty and the worst kind of turmoil you can imagine in this rotation. And now that we're living in that reality, unfortunately, well, he's in the rotation. Exactly as I said would happen if that were to take place. And he's just horrendous too, as expected. And I don't even really blame him for that. He really shouldn't even be in this rotation as it is. He should just be around purely for depth. But we're in a place where the depth has to be there regularly because the main guys are all hurt. He's 38 years old and every bit of it. 7.71 ERA so far. Less strikeouts than innings pitched. WHIP. More than 1.5. 163. Not good. And if you have to have him in your rotation regularly, at this stage in his career, you probably have a crap rotation, kind of like the Yankees do right now. So that's not a good situation to find yourself in, and he's pitching again tomorrow night, so I'm sure that'll just go great. Then you have Will Warren, and I had said that Will was really impressing me, especially in spring training, but also with the way his stuff was moving. I've been saying this on Twitter the last couple of weeks. With how his stuff is moving and how he's really shaping up to be sort of like a second Michael King with how his stuff moves. And if he just unlocks that potential that we all can see he has, he can reach that someday. He's just got to take the walks down a notch and control that. He quickly gets to 0-2 regularly, and his stuff moves great. But then he starts playing with his food. He walks guys, and he gets himself into trouble. It's very much self-sabotage with him. And this also affects how long he's able to stay in the game, elevating his pitch count and getting himself into all kinds of crap. Finally, on Saturday, he turned in another good outing after he had a crap one against the Pirates. Good one to start, but then he fell apart because he got himself into trouble. But even he's kind of all over the place. You can't really trust him fully. I would say at this point, and this is really sad to say, considering he's not all that great as of yet completely. He's had his bad moments already early on here, while he's also had his good. But he's probably the one I trust most after Fried, given the current state of the rotation at least, and that's very sad. It's very, very sad. Especially because there's a legitimate chance to drop my pen. Especially because there's a legitimate chance that he's sent back down shortly. Unless it ends up being the guy who they recently called up to replace Stroman, and I will get to him in a minute, don't you worry. But if it's not him, then they'll probably end up sending Warren down if they need more room in the rotation, but because he has an option, and as opposed to getting rid of someone like Carrasco, well, you have to DFA him and cut him, and then you lose more pitching depth, even though it's not the best kind of pitching, but you need a body. At this point, with how many pitchers the Yankees have in general in the organization, they need a body anywhere they can get. And you always go with the option before you go with the DFA, because if you have an option, you're not losing the guy. You're just sending him back down. You call him right back up a few days later. So if they have to send anybody down for that reactivation on the roster and whatnot, then it'll probably be an option of Warren or the kid they just called up in turn of that. But Warren, he's just trying to figure it out, I guess. He's still learning. His stuff is definitely better than last year. I still love how his stuff moves. I just wish he would freaking cut down on the damn walks and stop fooling around when he gets to 2 strikes, because that's when he gets himself into trouble. And he's gotten into a great deal of it already, a perfect amount of it. His ERA is in the 5s as well. And then, last but certainly not least, I saved him for last because I got a lot to say about him too. Mr. Marcus Stroman. Mr. I'm a starter.
I'm a starter.
So, right now,
I'm a starter.
You're the 6th starter, so how do you handle that?
See how it plays out. I'm a starter.
Quiet! Yeah, just had to call back to the evidence for a second. I'm a starter. Famous last words. I gotta tell you, I'm really damn sick and tired of athletes digging their heels into a position that they claim they can only do, and then going out there and sucking at it.
Screw you.
Facts, Johnny Lawrence. Getting real damn tired of this theme. We've seen it a few times around baseball, particularly with the Yankees. We saw it with Gleyber Torres, and now we're seeing it with Marcus Stroman. You heard about all the drama with the Red Sox throughout spring training in the earlier part of the year, with Rafael Devers digging his heels in with third base after they got Bregman. Seeing this theme a lot. And it's really becoming an annoyance. Really, really annoying, especially when these guys are compensated well and they're relied on a lot, and the team really needs them to do something they could very well do and be very good at it potentially. But they just refuse. And the least that you can do in their shoes when you're actually given that opportunity is go out there and prove that you are what you claim to be. No, but then they just go out there and absolutely suck at it. I said, since spring training, you can't say I didn't, especially if you're a listener of mine. I have said for a while now that publicizing and saying that the Yankees were openly trying to trade him, get rid of him for a while, and if they don't, it would be weird. It was awkward at first. They seemed to figure it out throughout spring. I just felt like it would be a very mental game for Stroman, and it could go very badly. And if he is involved in the rotation whatsoever, he was definitely the next man up for the first person who got hurt. Problem was, heading into the season, the Yankees already had 3 freaking injuries, so that boosted him up to be the 3rd starter. But you knew the rotation was in trouble the second you heard that from get-go. But my God, I've never seen such a fumble in my entire life. And this is even after watching Gleyber Torres digging his heels into second base and then have the most errors of any other second baseman. This is just remarkable. Absolutely remarkable. Marcus Stroman had one of the worst starts I've ever seen the other night on Friday. Now, in fairness, I will also say this, and this is not Yankee fan bias. I said this before the game even started to many people around me, my immediate family, even my cousins. I was at my cousin's house on Friday night. I was even saying it to them, and they don't even watch baseball. But I was saying Friday night's game should not even have been played in the first place. That was an absolute joke given the conditions. Absolute joke before the game even started. And then Stroman goes out there and just does, makes it even better. Makes it even better. Gives up 5 runs without even recording an out. What an absolute loser. And I genuinely mean that. I'm sick of hearing these people. I'm this, and I will only do this. That's what I am. I'm a starter. My ass! You want to talk about contributing to the overall starting pitching ERA so far? 11.5. He stinks. Had a fine start to the very beginning of last year. Ever since then, he's fallen off and gotten exposed for exactly what he is. He's a guy who doesn't have anything, so he has to nibble on the corners. walk a bunch of guys, constantly miss because he knows he doesn't have anything good, even if he has 27 different pitches. Doesn't throw hard to be able to compensate for that fact. Nibbles on the corners, gets smacked. I'll always admire a guy, even if it's in a delusional manner, for believing in himself. But my God, is it unwarranted with this guy. I know that he thinks he is God's gift to pitching. Well, isn't he just the gift that keeps on giving? I mean, really, what did he throw? 46 pitches the other night? Without even making it out of the first inning? Got 2 outs, 5 runs, 3 walks. What the actual hell, bro? So that's the Yankees starting rotation. It is down bad. It is Max Fried and everybody else. That's what the rotation is. Max Fried and then everybody else. Can you imagine if they didn't get Fried this offseason? Can you imagine? Makes me shudder to even contemplate it. Now, a good thing is that they have Clark Schmidt coming back, and he's going to be starting on Wednesday, the 16th. And again, we'll see which roster move they make in turn with that, but this rotation is in worse shape than just about any Yankee rotation I've seen since I became a fan about 17, 18 years ago. This is really, really bad. Really bad. I thought it would take at least a little bit longer to feel the sting of not having Cole, but my God, are they feeling it instantly. Instantly. This season gave them a cold, hard, and abrupt reality check with how weak the pitching is. And even the bullpen hasn't been at its best. Hell, look at our new closer, Devin Williams. I mean, yeah, he bounced back, what was it, last night? Yeah, against the Giants, despite allowing the first 2 base runners to reach base instantly. No outing for him has been easy. Most of them have been really bad so far. And I understand he's got a lot going on in his personal life, too. He went to the paternity list for a little while. He had a kid, and congratulations to him and his family, for sure. But it's been really bad. And we all know what happened to him before the Yankees got him. He gave up that colossal home run to Pete Alonso that ended up eliminating the Brewers in the wild card round last year. And I was just saying for a while, especially after he allowed the first couple of base runners against the Giants last night, once again being in trouble, I was saying, yeah, Pete really broke this guy. He really broke him. And unfortunately, he bounced back immediately after that, striking out the next couple of guys. But between him and how he's looked, and even a lot of the middle guys, I was decently happy, as you remember, the last episode that the Yankees were able to pick up Ryan Yarbrough. Very familiar face throughout the American League East for years now. Pitched on the Rays, the Blue Jays. Definitely know him, very familiar with him. Even he had a bunch of really bad outings. And he doesn't throw hard or nothing, but he's a very good locating pitcher. He's good at what he does. But not with the Yankees has he been in a handful of outings. He's looked better at other times, but he's had his rough outings for sure when they need him to not. Mark Leiter Jr. Now, I know he went on a magical run when he first got here and then again in the playoffs, but there have been times where he makes me very nervous. And how about the freaking grand slam he gave up to Eugenio Suarez when they faced the Diamondbacks a bunch of days ago? It's probably the worst 2-strike pitch I've ever seen. So a bunch of the middle relief guys, they make you nervous. Fernando Cruz, another one who I was very excited they picked up and have big expectations for. I mean, he'll be all over the place sometimes. That splitter's a damn good pitch, but, I mean, how many times have we seen him already completely unable to locate? Gomez is good for eating innings as well. We've seen that many times. Ian Hamilton just got back, and it's going to take him a while to get his bearings back. I understand he just got back. I'll give him some time. Tim Hill looks all right. He's had a couple of bad outings himself, give or take, but a lot of this pitching, and they got this kid Alan Winans, who they just called up when Stroman got, air quotes, hurt That's another thing about Stroman, very funny. He all of a sudden, after an absolute tragedy of an outing, the one that he had on Friday night, now all of a sudden he magically has left knee inflammation and he's on the injured list. Have you ever seen a better example of phantom IL than this? There's no shot that that's a real injury. I would bet money on that. I would bet that if that was a 6-inning shutout performance, his knee would be in perfect condition. Mint condition. Ready to go for the next outing. I have never seen a better example of a fake injury as long as I'm watching baseball. And if that's the case, bravo to the Yankees finally putting him on the shelf where he belongs. Even if they do need bodies, he ain't going to give you anything you need. So it's whatever in that sense, but my God. Good way to make sure he doesn't start, at least for a while, even though I prefer to never see him start another game in a Yankee uniform ever again, to be honest with you. But this is the state of the pitching right now, guys. They have quite literally no one. There are a couple of pitchers right now that I trust no problem, and even they'll have their days naturally because they are human beings still. But there are a couple of pitchers right now in the entire roster, bullpen and starting pitching alike, everyone included. There are two that I can confidently say, even if they will have their nights, when they go in, when they have their appearance, whether it be starting or relieving, I'm like, they'll get the job done. And I trust them. 2 guys out of the 13 they currently have on the 26-man. And those 2 are Max Fried and Luke Weaver. That's it. There's no one else. Just like everyone will have their bad outings, including Fried and Weaver every once in a while because they're human beings, everyone will have a good outing too every once in a while, and that's fine. Hell, I encourage that, if anything, obviously. But the guys who I can just, when they go out there, say, I trust them. It's Fried and Weaver. That is it. It ends there. Hard, full stop. Anybody else want to say anything else, then by all means, let me know, but that's how I feel about it. I trust no pitcher right now. I have no idea who they turn to nowadays for some solace, some relief. I have no clue. And I know it's early, but they had better figure something out. Absolutely anything. I mean, I know that he's not even on the 40-man, I don't think, but people are talking about, oh, call this kid up, trade for that. Trade for who? And trade who? In order to make a trade, you got to have some assets that other teams are interested in as well. And really the only thing that the Yankees have is they're not going to part ways with Spencer Jones. They've really dug their heels into the ground about him too. So if you're not getting rid of him, which trade chip are you using if it's not on the Major League roster? The Yankees don't have a farm system towards the top of the league anymore, not nearly. And if you give up a lot of Major League talent, well, you might as well sell off at that point, which the Yankees are not going to do. So, like, what do you... I kind of think they're stuck. This is what they have right now. Cole's gone for the year. Heel's out till the summer. Schmidt's coming back, but you've missed him for weeks sorely with how the starting pitching's been. And the bullpen... And the really alarming thing about that is, and I was mentioning this to my uncle before, we were on the phone. He's another diehard Yankee fan. I was even telling him this. The really alarming thing about the Yankees is the fact that for years now, how many years? A decade plus? What aspect of the team has seldom ever been an issue for the Yankees? Really, really rarely, if ever, for the last bunch of years. The bullpen. The bullpen's been great for them for years. It's been so good. Right now, and again, I'm saying this knowing it's early. You don't have to remind me. But even right now, this is like one of the only extended stretches in memory where I feel even the bullpen is just bad. They're not as bad as the starting rotation. The starting rotation is a disaster. But even the bullpen is full of guys who I don't trust, and that's a new one for me too. It should be a new one for all of us Yankee fans. The bullpen is usually a source of stability in this organization, and it is not right now. Even if it is better than the starting rotation, even if they've been a bit better the last few days or what have you, how many arms come out of there that you even blindly just say, I trust him, he'll get it done? Almost no one. Again, for me, it's only Luke. That's it. And that's very unsettling for me because, again, that has been a point of a lot of stability in the organization for a lot of time. And even that has me feeling uneasy. It's come to a point with this organization right now. It's early, I know. And I have to keep on saying that because I know people will be telling me, what are you freaking out, Mike, for? It's a couple of weeks in. I understand that. I get it. But that doesn't mean you can't have concerns throughout the year, no matter when it is. And so far right now, it is a big concern to me. Some people might say it's only a little one because of how early it is, what have you. But for me, it's pretty concerning whenever you feel like your team has got to go out there and score 7 or 8 runs. Otherwise, it's just going to be an auto loss. That's where they're at right now. There should be a comfortable barbell approach on a true winning team. Pitching is bad. Hitters back them up. Hitting goes through a long period of struggling or even a short period, whatever, then hopefully the pitching could step up. That barbell is not there with the state that the pitching is in, especially the starting rotation. It's just not there. Again, the bullpen, a source of stability usually. Even you have guys out there that you don't trust. And the starting rotation, Fried is great. It ends there. Carlos Rodon is a moron who is just completely and utterly immune to making good in-game decisions with his stuff, with certain guys, learning from his mistakes, completely unable to do that. Walking guys he shouldn't be walking, the whole 9 yards. We know all the problems with Carlos Rodon, the obligatory home runs in the worst of spots, or just feeling like he needs to give one up out of nowhere just for no reason. Even in rare times of praise for him in the past, we have acknowledged all of these issues with him, and they continue as time goes along without end. Marcus Stroman, just absolutely infuriating, pitching like a loser, going out there just saying constantly, I'm a starter, and touting that, and you're going out there doing what you're doing. I got no patience for that. I'm sorry. Got no patience for it. It's only right that the Yankees phantom IL him, and you can talk me off a ledge for an hour trying to convince me that that is not a phantom IL stint, and you will not be able to convince me. Then after that, you have Carlos Carrasco, just a guy who is simply way past his prime and should not be in any starting rotation anymore, but you have to because you need a body if you're the Yankees. And then you have Will Warren trying to figure things out and trying to see how he can maybe not give up nearly as many walks as he gives up and get himself into all kinds of trouble the way he does. Still a young guy trying to find his way in a rotation in great turmoil right now. And you just don't have that support for days where the bats are going to go silent. You don't. And like I said, even after opening weekend, despite how much fun that was, it's not going to last over the course of an entire season, and I was ready for that. We should all be ready for that if we're experienced baseball fans. Offenses don't do that every day. They're going to go through extended slumps individually or as a group. It is a foregone conclusion. So anytime that the bats do go quiet, or they don't score as much as they should, whatever you want to say about them, the Yankees are probably losing the game because they don't have the pitching to back that up. And the only reason, despite it only being 15 games in, that the Yankees are over 500, even being at it, is because of that opening weekend sweep against the Brewers. Otherwise, like the rest of the mid-AL East right now, they would barely be treading water. And it's far too early to look at any standings, so I'm not even going to get into that. But basically, it's the Yankees and the Blue Jays right now. The entire AL East is really hugging each other, but everybody's mid. That's the only reason why the Yankees are not just drowning right now. If they were in the NL West, they'd be in trouble. I mean, most teams would. But, I mean, it's a saving grace possibly, at least as of right now, early on here, that the rest of the American League East is also just mid at best. But you don't have that barbell approach where you could use the help of the pitching in times of offensive silence. They don't have that barbell. And that's an issue. They have no pitching. And I've never seen Yankees pitching collectively be in this much trouble. I wasn't watching in 2005 yet. Any other time in the mid-2000s where the rotation may not have been too strong. Early 90s, I was not alive yet. Any other time period before that, obviously, still was not alive yet. In my time watching, I have not seen pitching for the Yankees in this kind of turmoil. Even if certain aspects of it is not their fault. I don't care. I have never seen it like this. This bad. All around, they have no pitching. Could improve. Could get better. Things could happen going forward. I'm not saying that's impossible. But right now, and I was even saying it on opening weekend, especially with Game 2, there were times where between that and the defense that happened on Game 2. But, I mean, I don't know, man. It's bad. You need to be able to have pitching supporting the offense going quiet sometimes because it's going to happen. And we've seen bouts of that in every game where it does happen. Yankees have lost. And despite still being just one game over 500, 15 games in here with their 8-7 record, I mean, the series just have not gone too well, especially against better teams. I mean, they had their sweep against the Brewers, as we established last episode after opening weekend. Then the Diamondbacks came to town and really handled the Yankees very well. Then they did win the series against the Pirates after that, but the Pirates are the Pirates. I mean, they really should have swept them, honestly. That third game was annoying as hell. Then the Tigers handed them their ass. And the Giants. I think the Yankees were really close to taking that series against them this weekend. Shouldn't have lost today, but they did. Because Carlos Rodon sucks. But they've lost more series than they've won here through the first 5. And they would definitely be at 500 at best if not for that opening series sweep. But again, the Brewers and Pirates are crap teams. Diamondbacks have a lot of good aspects about them. The Tigers are pretty good. I don't consider them the greatest team, but they have good aspects about them. Torkelson is great. Skubal, although he's had shaky starts to the year here and there, is awesome. Former Cy Young, obviously. Reigning Cy Young, I should say, from last year. They have their good aspects about them. And the Giants have had a hell of a start to the year. So is most of the NL West. Both Padres and Dodgers. But in any event, not been a pleasant start since the Brewers series. Not been pleasant. A lot of turbulence with the Yankees and a lot of times where you just see the offense when they go quiet, it's a loss. It doesn't even have to be spoken about. If they don't score 5+ runs, they're losing the game. End of story. They have seldom won any low-scoring games in the early going here. Very rare. I mean, do you know that since we last spoke after the end of the Brewers series, do you know that every day except for Wednesday, the 9th, against the Tigers, and the Yankees actually managed to win a closer, low-scoring-ish sort of game? Every single game since the last time we spoke, except for this one, the Yankees pitching, whether it be bullpen or starters, have allowed 4 or more runs to the opposition. Most of the time, more than that. That's a lot of pressure to put on an offense, guys. It's a lot of pressure. On Tuesday the 1st, right after we spoke, 7 runs to the Diamondbacks. Then after that, 4. Then after that, 7 again. Shouldn't have been nearly that close. Then 4 runs to the Pirates, twice in a row, and then 5 on Sunday. 6 to the Tigers last Monday the 7th. Then 5 to them on Tuesday. Then the 3 on Wednesday that I just mentioned. Finally, a game with less than 4 runs allowed to the opposition. Then 9 runs on Friday, the game that shouldn't have been played. 4 runs yesterday, and 5 today. Every single game. I mean, what the hell are we doing here? And speaking of the offense, I mean, we're almost 50 minutes in here. Haven't even gotten to them yet. Even with this, there are a handful of guys that I could trust here. And they've done a spectacular job, but there are a lot of guys here I'm still even disappointed in the early going here. Speaking of guys who I'm unbelievably proud of, I guess we could start there. Ben Rice, he's kicking ass. Absolutely kicking ass. Like I said, the Benny bulk, as I've come to call it, is real. The power increase has been remarkable to start this year. 4 home runs, most of them being absolute piss rockets. especially the one yesterday, the hardest ball he ever hit in his life, 113-mile-an-hour laser into the right field seats. 298 average, OPS over 1,000. Weeks into the season here, this ain't no fluke here. It's carrying on for him. Batting around 300, 4 home runs, 6 RBIs. Batting leadoff a lot of the time. If Stanton never comes back or anybody else DHs on a given day, it's tough to sit him, man. It's tough to sit that. I wouldn't. I'd find a way to bring him in there because he has been that good so far. And it's fun to watch him play. Really good stuff out of him. Proud of him. Really proud of him that he's taking those next steps, obviously. Then you have Paul Goldschmidt. I mean, he may not really be flashing the power all that much. He does only have the 1 home run, and he has 6 RBIs. Not bad. And, you know, the 885 OPS. Out of all the good stats he does have, he does only have a 482 slugging so far, which isn't bad. It's not bad. He's getting his extra base hits, which helped that because he only has 1 home run. But otherwise, 403 on base to add on to that, adding up to the 885 OPS. 357 average. I mean, this year so far, he's 20 for 56. He's kicking ass. So many of them have been singles, in big spots too. But he is just doing a great job bat to ball. I mean, I was really hoping and praying and expecting to see at least a fragment of second half Paul Goldschmidt, the one who really tried to make up for his lousy first half last year, for this year. And it seems like we're getting that full on the first few weeks at least, and I'm very satisfied with that. He did make his error at first base today in a big spot, but otherwise he's been fantastic at first base, except for that. Like I said before, I'm understanding of that. If it just happens every once in a while, everybody makes a mistake, I understand that. That shows you that I really mean that. Despite that coming at a really crappy time, after someone really crappy just got done crapping the bed again, I'm saying crap all the time here, 20 times. Take a drink every time I say crap.
Holy crap!
Perfect timing as always, Frank Barone. Could always count on you. But yeah, he's doing a great job. Make a mistake every once in a while, that's fine. Make that error, I could look past it, especially given how good he's doing otherwise. So, it's great stuff. Even with the glove, he's been doing great. And it's nice to finally have a competent first baseman back there. No disrespect to Rizzo, but I think we could all admit, regardless of how much we love the guy, and I loved Rizzo, even when he was a Cub, as we know. But after that concussion, he was never the same. And he unfortunately didn't have an unbelievable amount of time to be on the Yankees as a great first baseman. He had from 2021 when they got him at the deadline. Then he had all of 2022 and the first month and a half or so of 23 until the concussion happened, and it all went downhill from there. His career as a Yankee, unfortunately, from that point forward, was a disaster. Very unfortunate, but it's nice to finally have a really good first baseman there, and the bar was set really low, unfortunately, because of post-concussion Rizzo, but Goldschmidt has blasted the hell past it, and I couldn't be happier with his performance so far. As far as everybody else, wish I could say otherwise, but there's plenty of disappointment to go around. Bellinger, despite his phenomenal start the first few days, that died out. And I guess a lot's happened with him since then, unfortunately. Like, he had that stiff back issue, and then he got food poisoning when they were in Detroit, so he's been going through it lately. I'll acknowledge that much, but otherwise, not much from him. He does have his great defense to support him, and that's awesome. I mean, that's so valuable, especially when it comes to the Yankees and their extreme lack of fundamentals. So that's great, and the importance of that can never be underestimated. But with the bat, he's just not doing much. He's 4 for his last 29. He's batting 196. He just has the home run that he had on opening weekend, OPS of 549. I'm going to need Cody to kick into gear a little bit. He had a nice game yesterday. That was awesome to see. He had a couple of hits, but he went 0 for 4 again today. So I need my boy Cody to resurge. I'm still so excited to have him here. I need you, Cody. Come on, buddy. Jazz Chisholm. He had his first home run today, but otherwise, I got to be honest with you. Between what we saw for most of the playoffs and what we've seen since opening weekend now, Jazz goes through a lot of extended periods of time where he very frustratingly, and I'm just going to bluntly come out and say this too, I'm in a blunt mood today, just has his head up his ass. It's just as plain and simple as that. Between the routine plays he has botched at second base lately, I mean, just the other day against the Giants, I think it was yesterday. Routine ground ball to second, tries to flip to Volpe at second for one, just throws it away. Like, why, bro? Why? Again, I understand mistakes are made, but the Yankees in the field, they do this crap on the most routine plays. It happens fairly frequently, I feel like. It's annoying. And today's home run snapped an 0 for 24 for him at the plate. He's been doing horrible. I guess the torpedo bats are only so great, right? Last couple of weeks, despite all the controversy that was already around on opening weekend, and we spoke all about it on the last episode, still, those two words, every other word out of everybody's mouth last couple of weeks. Torpedo bat this, torpedo bat that. Yeah, so much is doing for him since opening weekend. And everybody goes silent about it. Just exposes the fact, it's just the Yankees, so we hate it. Even though it's also not just the Yankees, that was disproven as well. Anyway, story that we've already hit on, let's not beat a dead horse. Point is, Jazz has been terrible himself. So, hopefully that home run today wakes him up in the coming days, wakes him back up, because it has been dreadful. He was 0 for 24 before that home run today, now 2 for 26. And my God. Head out of your ass, bud. And speaking of botching routine plays, but then flashing the leather on very difficult plays, and being a disappointment otherwise too, Anthony Volpe is our next guy to talk about. Listen, at least last year, a year where I was very hard on him at the end of it, at least he started that year tearing the cover off the baseball in every way, not just power-wise, but in every way. I mean, through the first few weeks, batting in like the 380s, going nuts last year, showing what he could definitely do at absolute peak potential. Forgot what it's like to see that lovely specimen, because ever since then he has absolutely vanished, as we know. Had a decent October. Nobody's denying that. And he resurged a little bit right around the All-Star game-ish, right after that last year. Otherwise, it has been nothing but regress. And sure, he has his 4 home runs. Good on him. But other than that, there's not much. And those 4 home runs are what has mainly contributed to his 842 OPS, which is a good OPS. It's more than fine. But the home runs have mainly helped that. I'm not trying to discredit the kid, but other than those home runs, he has really done, little to nothing, if I'm being really honest. He himself is 2 for his last 20. Like I said, the offense has had plenty of bouts in these last couple of weeks, as expected, especially given the way they started it off, where they go silent. And that's also why, since opening weekend, they've done a lot of losing since then, because it's not like they have any good pitching to fall back on. But Volpe has very much contributed at times to those offensive downturns, being 2 for his last 20. This year so far, in 53 at-bats, he has 12 hits. 4 of those 12 are home runs. It's almost 35% of his hits home runs. Listen, the Yankees are the Bombers for a reason. Hit home runs, please. Because you also see a downturn in offense when they don't do that. But that's always been who the Yankees have been for ever. For a long time, at least. But I need to see more from this kid. I have made it more than clear that if this year ends, and this is really what we continue to see from him, I'm just really going to start to say that after year 3, this is what Volpe is, I guess. I'm just going to guess that's what he is. You can call me an idiot or a fool or a clown for saying that, but I myself have been watching baseball for some time now, and like you, I'm entitled to my opinion, and that's just what I'm going to write him off as if this continues. A lot of season left to go, and I hope he turns it around. But again, I'm just not impressed. I'm not impressed. This kid is the definition of underwhelming. It's the definition of it. Picture perfect in the dictionary. Underwhelming. Anthony Volpe. Botches a lot of routine plays in the field, but then also, bafflingly so, which makes the routine play botching that much more frustrating, on a very challenging play where it looks like it's almost going to be an impossible play to make, he flashes the leather like some of the best amongst the best defensive shortstops you've ever seen. Try to figure that one out. I can't. But that makes it more frustrating again because then that shows you that there are pockets and hints of true talent in there that he just won't let out. I don't know what else to say about it. Jason Dominguez, again, this is his first real full opportunity he's getting, so I'm being lenient with him. 239 average so far, and much worse than that before yesterday, because yesterday had a nice day that boosted his stats back up a little bit. But 239 average, only 1 bomb and 5 RBIs, 718 OPS. He is 6 for his last 26. Much better than a few of the other guys. And, I mean, he's not doing brutally out in left field as of yet. But, I mean, I expect that to rear its ugly head, unfortunately, at some point. We'll see if it does. I hope it doesn't. But if he has improved in that, then by all means, that's fine with me. And I would say really the only thing that I've noticed is that still he has work to do from the right side of the plate. When he bats righty, it's just not as good as when he bats lefty. It's just not as good. Plain and simple. So I hope he continues to get as many opportunities as he can batting lefty, because I much prefer to see that over the alternative. But other than that, just keep on going out there, getting reps, and just take it all in, learn, accumulate your experience, and grow. Because he came up at the very, very young age of 20, as we know, and ever since then it has unfortunately been riddled with injuries for the vast majority of the time since then. Very small amount of appearances in 2024 after all that, and this is really his first opportunity to hit the ground running from the very start of the year and hopefully go through to the very end and finally learn in your first full year. It is his rookie year qualifying-wise. So being more patient with him, but again, on days where the offense needs help, it would be nice to see a little bit more from him every now and again, but that's what he's doing so far. You have Waldo, who's been forced out there the vast majority of the time at third base because, again, the Yankees thought it smart to go into the season without a definitive third baseman. They thought that that was a nice thing to do, despite all the money they saved from not getting Soto back and their increased flexibility from not doing that. But then we all know how they impose these limits on themselves, and then they just don't do what they have to do all the way. They go most of the way or part of the way, but not all the way. That's the Yankee way for a while now. We all know that. And Waldo's a victim of that, someone who should be a super utility guy because that's what he specializes in. Great player at doing that. Instead, he's out there every day, and it's not even like he's getting off to a bad start, but like I always say, when he's out there every single day, you're going to see Waldo getting exposed more so than not. He's not meant to be an everyday player over an extended period of time. I've argued that for a while, and I will continue to argue it because it's the truth. 6 for his last 23. Could be worse, could be better. But I'm not looking at him to be the main ringleader when it comes to helping out the offense. He could definitely contribute and help out, but I'm not going to look to him to be the leader. That'd be unreasonable. Then you have the catching tandem in Wells and Escara. And Wells, despite being better defensively and having had a hot start to the season, he hasn't done much with the bat either of late. 4 for his last 20. Missed a home run by literally centimeters the other night when it bounced off the top of the wall against the Giants on Friday and bounced back onto the field for a double as opposed to a 2-run homer at the time. But he hasn't done an unbelievable amount either, but shouldn't really be, in my opinion, based off of how baseball has always been, you don't expect most of the offense to come from the catcher. You usually expect it to come from elsewhere first and foremost. But we also saw the kind of spring training that Wells had. We saw the start to the year that he had. And we all know that the catching position is basically completely his at this point, except for the occasion on a day like today where Escara could take over for him and give him some rest, rightfully so, as the backup catcher. But I also just do wish that we see more from Wells as time goes along, because I do want to see him continue to take those steps being an everyday catcher. So I hope that continues to improve, but not too much since opening weekend like with a bunch of guys, but That's how it is. And Ascar got himself a nice RBI double today. That was nice to see, but he's just the backup catcher. I wish he would get maybe another start or so a week because he definitely fascinates me. And everybody on the team, it seems like, has an endless amount of nice things to say about the guy. So we'll see how many looks he continues to get and if he can deliver whenever he's in there. I think the only other guy that I haven't really mentioned is the given in the equation, Aaron Judge, obviously, because he is doing exactly what everybody expects of him and what everybody anticipates because he's Aaron Judge. So 8 for his last 23, which is great. And he is batting .357 with 6 home runs and 20 RBIs as a whole. 1228 OPS. And his last week or so, he hasn't hit any home runs. The home runs have actually gone silent. I thought that double off the center field wall in today's game was going to end up getting out, but it didn't. Just missed being a home run, but that'll come back. You're not worried about that in regards to Judge. But also, so far, I mean, even the times when he's not getting a hit, people say, oh, I would imagine his average is even higher given how good he's been. Well, might feel that way because he's still getting walked a sick amount of the time. His on-base percentage is .478. It's almost 500. He's on base almost half the time still. Even when he's not getting a hit, he's being walked, or I think even today got hit by a pitch. Getting on base somehow. That's the point. So, but that's a given, so you're not really surprised by that. So, listen, some good, quite a bit of bad the last couple of weeks. I'm not saying it's going to stay this way, like I said. I was only going nuts at the beginning of the show because it's with a guy who has highly irritated me for an extended amount of time in Carlos Rodon, who just seems to be completely refusing to learn from any of his mistakes, and it's just very aggravating to me. And then Marcus Stroman, which is a very aggravating situation in general for at least a couple of months now. So that's why I kind of flew off the handle there at the start a little bit. But I also know a lot of you like my ranting and find it very entertaining, so that's definitely a part of it too. But a lot of strong feelings here, despite it being early. I understand that. And a lot is still set to happen these next few months, as there always is every year. But that's really, if I had to say, a big general overview of the team for the last couple of weeks since we last spoke, if I had to say so. So, with that being said, why don't we get to recapping on a general basis the last couple of weeks since we last spoke, particularly when it comes to the games. For the first time in 2025, Yapping Yankees Time Machine back to a couple of weeks ago since the last time we spoke. Let's do it.
This is where the fun begins.
Always good timing, Anakin Skywalker. So, last time we spoke, obviously it was Sunday, March 30th, and then we were waiting on the second series of the season to begin. It was Yankees and Diamondbacks. This first game was very unfortunate and was definitely a game the Yankees should have won. Will Warren went out there and actually did himself a very nice job in 5 innings, 2 runs, only allowed 1 hit on the 2-run homer he allowed to Corbin Carroll in the 3rd inning. Other than that, nice outing for the kid and a very nice first time out there for him. Got in trouble with the walk, still had 4 walks, so that's, again, it's a big problem for him. Once he gets that under control, he really should begin ready to take those final steps to reaching his true potential, in my opinion. But other than that, it was really just a matter of a bullpen choke job because the offense really did their job after that. There was no score by the time the Carroll home run had happened, but Jason Dominguez hit his first home run of the season after that, followed by Volpe, and then on an error by Josh Naylor, who just continues to get absolutely owned whenever he plays the Yankees, even on a new team now in Arizona, left to Cleveland. But then on an error by him, the Yankees managed to score 2 more and take a 4-2 lead. And then the bullpen, I mean, they really didn't look too great in the second game of the year alongside the defense, but this was really the first major meltdown by them, if I had to say, like big-time meltdown. But Tim Hill and Mark Leiter Jr. came in collectively in the 8th inning, and it was not pretty. Ultimately, it resulted in exactly what I said earlier on in the show, Eugenio Suarez hitting that go-ahead grand slam to, at the time, put the Diamondbacks ahead 7-4 when it was 4-3 Yankees before that. And then, again, just one of the worst 2-strike pitches I've seen by Mark Leiter Jr., and he gives up an absolute tank to Suarez. And then the Yankees just added on one more run on a solo shot by Ben Rice in the bottom of the ninth, but fell 7-5 in a game they very much should have won. And the pitching, again, just kind of let them down there. In Game 2, this one was a bit annoying as well because you want to talk about Rodon being frustrating again. Well, here you go. And almost immediately out of the gate, Lourdes Gurriel Jr. hit a 2-run shot off him in the top of the first because, again, Carlos just cannot keep the ball in the park. If his life depended on it, he could not pull it off. And then Perdomo hit a sac fly off him in the top of the second, followed by an RBI single by Ketel Marte. So 2 innings in, 4 runs on the board for Arizona already. And unfortunately, the offense went silent for really the first time of the year, on this night at least, other than a 3-run shot that just squeaked out of the ballpark to right field by Volpe, his 4th of the year, and that was also his last home run, so it's been a couple of weeks since he homered. That put the Yankees on the board and put them within 1 run, 4-3, but too little too late. That was the final. Rodon takes the deserved loss, and Zach Gallen pitched that night for the Diamondbacks. I have seldom ever seen a pitcher more dialed in than he was against the Yankees that night. My God, 13 strikeouts in 6 2/3. He should have been allowed to finish the 7th inning. It was ridiculous that he wasn't. And if he was allowed to go the entire game, if pitch count didn't matter and it wasn't early in the year, I was convinced he was going to strike out like 16, 17 guys. He just had an insane outing. So, offense dead up until the very end when they were happy to finally say goodbye to Zach Gallen. And that was that. So the Yankees had to go into Thursday hoping that they weren't going to get swept. Fortunately, in this game, they had an offensive resurgence, big time. Bottom of the first, Aaron Judge hit a 3-run shot with Rice and Bellinger on base, so that made it 3-0, followed by an RBI double by Trent Grisham, who has been fantastic to start the season himself. He has been a blast to watch. He is an animal. We are big fans of him in this house. Started out sort of as a partial joke by my brother, as I've said in the past, when he was very happy that he shellacked the Mets in the 2022 wildcard round and then was thrilled to see him come here alongside Soto. And now he has been kicking ass to start the year here. Hasn't played in a little while now, the last couple of days or so, but especially in the past week or so, last week and a half, before the last few days, he has been a lot of fun. RBI double to make it 4-0 at the time. Diamondbacks put one up in the top of the second, but then Trent answered right back with 2 more runs of his own, his first homer of the year, 2-run shot in the bottom of the third of that game. Then the Diamondbacks crept a little closer, made it 6-3, but then Judge hit an RBI single, make it 7-3, and then Jazz hit a 2-run shot to make it 9-3. It's about one of the last things he did until today's home run, to be honest with you. Since then, so that made it 9-3. And then, unfortunately, in the top of the 7th, and this actually started to get people a little nervous, which was so unnecessary to even have happen because they had a 9-3 friggin' lead. But thanks to Yarbrough, he actually made it a 2-run game because he came into the game and allowed a grand slam in the top of the 7th inning to make it 9-7. And that's when everybody started to sweat because a 9-3 game now is a very close game. But fortunately, contrary to the first game of the series, Leiter was able to pitch a shutout 8th, and Weaver closed it down for the save in the 9th, and the Yankees were able to salvage a game of that series, fell 2 out of 3 to the Diamondbacks, as I mentioned earlier. Then they headed off to Pittsburgh, a series they very well should have swept, but at least it started off well with a 9-4 victory. Max Fried pitched in this game, did a fine job. 5 2/3, did allow 6 hits, but that was finally 1 run came across with 1 walk and 6 strikeouts. So, nice start by Fried, earned his first win as a Yankee as a result. After him, Fernando Cruz would bomb again, 3 runs in this outing, getting 2 outs. But then Hedrick and then Devin Williams nailed it down after that, when it was already a very big lead by then. But as far as the offense, they got started right away. Oswaldo, in the top of the second, drove in 2 on a single, helped along by an error by O'Neal Cruz in center field. And then in the top of the third, you had Jason Dominguez driving a run on a single himself. Also helped along, allowing the base runners to advance on an error by Alexander Canario. My God, did he look rough in the outfield that series. But that made it 3-0. Waldo, RBI single again, made it 4-0, had himself a nice night. Then after the Pirates put up a run in the bottom of the third, Volpe got an RBI single to make it 5-1 in the top of the fourth. Jason Dominguez being hit by a pitch with the bases loaded drove in the 6th run of the game. And then Waldo walking with the bases loaded after that drove in the 7th run, and then ultimately capitalized by the Yankees for their 8th and 9th and final runs of the game. A 2-run shot in the top of the 7th inning by the captain, Aaron Judge. That was his last home run since he has 6 right now. And the final ended up being 9-4. So that was that. So starting off the series right there. And the second game actually had a very similar score. As a matter of fact, heading into the 9th inning, I thought it was going to be another 9-4 win for the Yankees, but they tacked on another run at that point to make it 10-4, which I'm certainly not going to have an issue with. But this game was actually started by Stroman, and despite being good at the very beginning, he ended up being a disaster again ultimately. So 4 innings, 4 runs, 3 walks, just no good. No good, but fortunately the offense had his back. They started off in the top of the second right away with Austin Wells getting an RBI single, Trent getting a solo shot, Trent Grisham kicking ass. And then the Pirates actually took a 4-2 lead after the bottom of the 4th, but then the offense came back again in the top of the 5th thanks to Trent Grisham. 3-run shot made it 5-4, kicking ass in Pittsburgh. And then Anthony Volpe actually had a 3-run double to left center field all the way to the wall to make it 8-4. That was good on them. Scored 6 runs in that inning alone. Big inning for the Yankees. And then in the top of the 8th, you had Paul Goldschmidt add on with an RBI single to make it 9-4. And then Wells adding on with a sac fly in the top of the 9th to make it 10-4 for the final. Mark Leiter Jr. would get the win on the night. And then Sunday, the game they should have won, they lost. Will Warren got the start in this one, and despite actually starting off the game very well, similarly to Stroman, I guess, he just kind of fell apart because he just started fooling around and started missing with a lot of his pitches. He would get to 2 strikes. A lot of the problems you usually see with Will Warren, despite not really that many walks, he only had the 1, but very similarly to a lot of his other usual problems where he'll get the 2 strikes, he'll locate well, but then he plays around and just ends up putting pitches in bad spots and he gets hit hard. So in 4 innings, he gave up 6 hits, 4 runs, struck out 5 and only walked 1, but gave up a lot of hits, a lot of base runners going on. But had all of his damage done in the 3rd and 4th innings. The Yankees had the lead to start the game on a Jazz RBI double, but then found themselves down 4-1 all the way through to the rest of the game. The offense just died out, didn't take advantage of scoring opportunities, and just nothing happened until the top of the 9th, when the Yankees actually got a humongous rally going. You had Oswald Peraza. That was awesome to see. He got the start in this game, and he definitely made it count. In the top of the 9th, got an RBI double, and then Trent freaking Grisham again. After that, 2-run single to tie the game at 4. Awesome comeback for the Yankees there in the 9th inning. Unfortunately, though, it would not see them through to victory, because in the 10th and 11th innings, they did not score, which is very frustrating because in one of those 2 innings in the 10th, they were facing former Yankee Caleb Ferguson, who obviously stinks, and they couldn't even score off him. And also in this game, starting this game, was Andrew Heaney, who also stinks, is a former Yankee. Some of the lousiest stuff that you'll see out of a professional pitcher, and the Yankees couldn't hit him if their lives depended on it. If a gun were to their heads. 7 innings pitched for him, 1 run and 10 strikeouts. I'm sorry. I know the Yankees are struggling and probably will continue to struggle against left-handed pitchers this year, as they did in years past in recent years, but this year even more so because of how lefty-reliant they are in the lineup. I was even saying this the other day to somebody. Isn't it funny? Huge problem for the Yankees a few years ago is that they had way too many right-handed hitters. Now this year, in some areas, they have too many lefties. It's just funny how that happens. But they struggle with lefties a lot of the time because of that. And they did so again against Andrew Heaney, but against someone who's that crappy, it's just, there's no excuse. And then in the bottom of the 11th, Devin Williams came in and didn't get the job done. There's only so much I could blame him because of Manfred extra inning ghost runner crap baseball. But nonetheless, did not get the job done like Luke did prior to him for a couple of innings. And that was that. So, Yankees lost 5-4 in 11 innings. Very irritating loss. They still did take the series, and it was the only one they've taken this year other than the Brewers sweep so far early on here, but not a great way to end the series. And they would take that gameplay, unfortunately, into Detroit, especially for the first two games. The only scoring they did was in the fifth inning in the first game, when Aaron Judge got an RBI single, and then in the top of the eighth, when they scored because Jazz got on because of a Colt Keith error at second base. That's all the scoring they did in that game. Otherwise, Rodon pitched in this one, and, well, once again, he stunk. What can I tell you? Didn't help that the Yankees also had an error of their own, particularly in the fifth inning with Oswaldo Cabrera, that would end up contributing to the Tigers scoring more in that inning. But this was mainly about Rodon continuing to screw up. The Yankees did have more hits than the Tigers in this game, interestingly enough, but still lost 6-2. The offense just didn't do their thing, though. Oswaldo's error didn't help anything. And, well, Rodon stinks. What can I tell you? I mean, even in the bottom of the third inning, just another example of what he does, mainly what he does wrong. It's the story of his life. Bottom of the third, 2 walks, and then a home run. Is that not picture perfect of what he always does? Walks and home runs. And not learning from those mistakes of what he did in those at-bats. Bad pitch selection. Not adjusting and learning how to keep the ball in the ballpark. It's just very irritating. It's the same thing over and over again. That's why I get as frustrated as I do with him. Because it's like a simulation. And it continued in the fifth when he allowed 2 more. Ultimately, just a dud game for the Yankees. 6-2 loss. Rodon takes another L, deserved. Tuesday, a lot of the same thing. I mean, Carrasco pitched, and he certainly was no gift to watch. Gave up 6 hits, 4 runs, only struck out 3, and gave up 3 home runs, all in 4 1/3. So that stunk. And Yarbrough gave up a run himself on another home run, so just not great. But the offense did absolutely nothing either. They got shut out. Got 6 hits, but no runs to show for. So 5-0 loss there. And again, similarly to the Diamondback series, going to the final game, hoping to not get swept. And fortunately, they didn't. Found a way around it. But nothing happened for the vast majority of the game up until the 7th. No runs scored by either side. Max Fried pitched this game, and I'm glad that they managed to get a run on the board before his final inning pitch so he could still be credited with a much-deserved win. He did get his second win of the year, drove his ERA down to 1.56 because this was the story of the game. 7 innings, shutout for Max Fried, 5 hits, no walks, and 11 strikeouts. Once again, great outing by him. Awesome third outing. Like I said, Max Fried and then everybody else, guys. Not lying to you. 7th came around, and that's when Ben Rice hit his 3rd homer of the year. Made it 2-0, 2-run shot with Oswaldo on base. And then in the top of the 9th, Aaron Judge expanded the lead, gave the Yankees some insurance, and it's a good thing he did because of what happened in the bottom of the 9th. But that made it 4-0. And then the 9th inning, the other story of the game, unfortunately, and it's not a good story. Devin Williams, again, just folding on himself. Allowed 1 run because of a wild pitch, just allowed endless base runners, and then Zach McKinstry drove in 2 runs on a 2-run single to make it 4-3, and Devin Williams did not even get to finish the inning. The Yankees took him out because he just looked like a train wreck. No control over his stuff whatsoever. 2 hits, 3 runs, 2 walks, did strike out a couple, so the strikeouts are there, but just no control of the stuff. None. And Mark Leiter Jr. actually had to finish the game, which is kind of embarrassing, but whatever. He got the last out. First and only save of the year so far in the early going. Yankees still managed to just barely squeeze a game out of this series and win 4-3, miraculously so. Off day on Thursday, and then now here we are, caught up to now. Friday, the 11th. Like I said, this game just should not have been played. Here in New York, if you live here, you know firsthand like I do. But even if you were watching on the game, I'm pretty sure you could tell, even if you live outside of New York and you were just relying on the television to tell you how crappy it was with how many times they had to put new dirt on the mound and fix the field and do all this maintenance nonsense on the field just to be able to play a game. I get that we're playing a West Coast team, and that's probably why, because it'd be tough to get them back here. You're forcing the issue, but this game should not have been played, my friends. Should not have been played. People could always get hurt. The conditions were brutal. And it's just not worth it. They ended up stopping the game after the 6th inning anyway. It's just not worth it. The conditions were terrible. And I'm not using that as an excuse for the Yankees as to why they lost, because, hey, the Giants are playing in the same condition, and they kicked our ass. So good on them. It's not an excuse. I'm just saying that in general, even looking out for the Giants players, too, for crying out loud, this game should not have been played. Absolutely not. But Stroman, like I said before, he stunk. What else can I say? 5 runs without recording a single out. Then he ended up not even making it through the first inning, driving his ERA all the way up to 11.57. And the bullpen had to go the rest of the way, pitching basically the rest of the game. Granted, the entire game was only 6 innings long, but you get the point. 9 runs given up to the Giants. Young-Hoo Lee kicked ass, as did Lamont Wade Jr. Those two together had 6 of the 9 runs driven in for the Giants. And the Yankees, as far as their scoring, only took place in the 2nd inning when Wells got his RBI double that, again, like I said before, missed a home run by about like a hair in order to stay over the wall instead of bouncing back in. So that was the only run the whole night. And from there, just really bad. Awful start for Stroman, probably amongst the worst I've seen from anybody. Inexcusable, regardless of the conditions. Because, again, like I mentioned, not to be used as an excuse, but Robbie Ray was pitching in the same conditions, and he still managed to go 4 innings of just allowing a run. Allowed 4 walks, but the Yankee offense barely took advantage of that, as we know, and still struck out 7. So, there's that. Phantom IL for Stroman after that because of left knee inflammation. Again, I'd be willing to bet money that that's not a real injury. But I do believe that Phantom IL thing, very seldom, but I believe it exists. And that was one of the instances, I believe. Fortunately, Game 2, they bounced back, and it's a good thing they did in hindsight, otherwise they would have gotten their asses swept. But the offense actually managed to do very well once again in this game. Bellinger hit an RBI triple the other way to left field. That was awesome to see. Like I said, he actually had himself a good day yesterday, which boosted his stats a little bit. Happy about that. That made it 1-0, and then Goldschmidt drove him home with a sac fly right after that to make it 2-0. Will Warren pitched yesterday as well, and he allowed his only 2 runs right after that, unfortunately. Gave the runs right back to Wilmer Flores on a 2-run shot into the Yankee bullpen to tie the game at 2 in the top of the 2nd. But then the Yankees wouldn't look back after that, guys. Cody Bellinger once again, RBI single, give the Yankees the lead again, 3-2. Goldschmidt, ground rule double, RBI, driving home Aaron Judge, making it 4-2. Volpe sac fly, making it 5-2. And then Jason Dominguez, 2-run single, making it 7-2. So the Yankees were basically in control after this. Giants did add on a couple of more by Wilmer Flores again, drove in all 4 of their runs in the top of the 6th. But then the Yankees added on a smidge more in the bottom of the 6th. Immediately after that, with another Ben Rice solo shot. This is the hardest ball I've ever seen him hit, and I believe he's ever hit in his career. So that made it 8-4, and that was the final. Will Warren got himself the win. He is now 1-0 with an ERA of 5.14 still. An improvement over his second start in Pittsburgh, and I just hope to still see him keep on taking steps in the right direction because, again, God knows this rotation needs someone to step up. And the Yankees today, as I was stating earlier, when I was ranting like a psychopath, a game they should have won. A game they definitely should have won. Bottom of the 1st, Goldschmidt, RBI single, as he continues to kick ass. J.C. Escara, bottom of the 2nd, RBI double. And then Ben Rice, RBI single on a broken bat to left field. Made it 3-0. Yankees felt well in control, and Rodon, the first few innings, was actually really solid. First dent was Young-Hoo Lee, hitting a solo shot off him in the top of the 4th, his 2nd of the year and the series, because he's hit all of his home runs against the Yankees, like I mentioned before. And then in the top of the 6th, once again, with Rodon not learning from his mistake of throwing a bad breaking ball to Lee from the first home run, throws him another one, and shockingly, after getting into even more trouble with walking guys and just not retiring them when he should, gave up that leadoff single to Koss in the infield and then walked Adames. And then right after that, hanging curveball to Lee, bashed into right center field. Giants take a 4-3 lead, and the Yankees never came back after that. And actually, Rodon kept on going after that, and he actually managed to walk Matt Chapman, too, after that. The walks! The only other thing the Yankees would do for the rest of the game, and they would score the Giants again also in the top of the seventh once more on an error by Goldschmidt, unfortunately. And again, mistakes do happen. Guys looked incredible to start the year, so I'm not going to go too nuts on a mistake, like I said earlier in the show. If a guy's doing good otherwise, and it's just something that happens every once in a while, he's a human being. So it happens. Makes sense, right? So that made it 5-3, and then the Yankees added on one more on, like I said before, bottom of the eighth, Jazz's first home run in almost 2 weeks, and also breaking an 0 for 24. Solo shot made it 5-4, and he did absolutely nothing in the ninth inning, and lost 5-4, and lost another series. So that's that. There's your recap. Now, in the next couple of weeks, until the next time we talk again, because I'm taking off next Sunday for Easter, and then, as I said last time we spoke, on April 27th, when we yap again, that'll be my last episode until June, since I'm not doing any episodes in May. But leading up to that, in the next couple of weeks, the Yankees immediately start a series with the Royals tomorrow, on Monday, the 14th. They'll have a 3-game series against them at the stadium, staying put right where they are. Carrasco will be going tomorrow against Seth Lugo. That's 7:05 p.m. 7:05 p.m. on Tuesday as well, the 15th. That'll be Michael Wacha against Max Fried. Something to look forward to with the starting rotation, about time. Wednesday, Clark Schmidt will be making his 2025 debut as he returns from the injured list as well, which is also cool to see. And that'll be the 3-game set against the Royals. Then the Yankees hit the road, and I said I was very excited to see this happen for the first time because it's going to be super interesting. But they hit the road to face Tampa Bay at George M. Steinbrenner Field. So that'll be fun. 4-game set next weekend starting on Thursday. No days off this week. That'll be 7:05 p.m. on Thursday, 7:05 on Friday as well. And Saturday will be 4:10. And then Sunday will be 1:40 p.m. Eastern for those 4 games. And again, just a reminder, Wednesdays are Prime Wednesdays, so Wednesday against the Royals will be on Amazon Prime. Then the following week, the Yankees still just keep on going right through. They don't have an off day again until Thursday the 24th. So they hit the road against Cleveland. Go to face the Guardians starting Monday the 21st. That'll be at 6:10 p.m. Eastern, like with the Rays. No pitching announcements as of now. 6:10 as well on Tuesday the 22nd, and Wednesday the 23rd will be at 1:10 p.m. Eastern. That'll wrap that up. They have an off day Thursday, and they return home for the weekend of the 25th to face the Blue Jays for the first time this year. That'll be 7:05 p.m. on Friday, 1:05 on Saturday the 26th, and then on the 27th when we yap again, 1:35 p.m. Eastern at the stadium. So that's the recap and what is ahead for the Yankees. Guys, I think we're just going to speed through the rest of the show since we're getting late early here. And basically hit on just about everything that we possibly could. So let's keep it rolling right into Yankees news from these last couple of weeks. Anything notable that's happened. On Monday afternoon, going back to the 31st a couple of weeks ago, this is on the off day, it was announced that the Yankees actually re-signed Dom Smith to a minor league contract. You remember he had opted out after a strong spring training camp. But the Yankees were actually already too left-handed heavy, as I mentioned earlier, too, as a reminder to add him to the big league roster. And they also went with somebody like Ben Rice, and rightfully so. I did say I was interested at the time of seeing how Dom Smith would do, but I definitely did not have a problem with seeing Ben Rice there, and it's worked out very well, obviously. But now he's brought back as depth once again. So he's back down in the minor leagues, and if they need him, he'll be there. So even after opting out, he's back in the organization. Then on Tuesday, April 1st, and this was very appropriate to happen on that day, on April Fool's Day, because a lot of people thought it could have been a joke. Very interesting set of events here and to follow. The Yankees actually brought back a very very familiar face that I don't think anybody expected. Anybody remember Adam Ottavino? They re-signed him to a major league contract. That was the last thing I expected. And they added him to the active roster and transferred JT Brubaker to the 60-day injured list. I will again just reiterate, I'm not sure we will ever see that man pitch in a Yankee uniform. I'm sticking by that. I've said that since well into last year. And I'm just going to stick by it. But transferred him to the 60-day, and they also placed Devin Williams on the paternity list, as I had mentioned earlier on in the show. Adam was just to mainly replace that for the time being. So, very funny April Fool's sort of transaction there. Just about the last thing anybody expected to see Adam Ottavino in a Yankee uniform ever again. So, it was short-lived, obviously, though, since Devin was reactivated again on Friday the 4th, and Ottavino was DFA'd in turn. He did elect free agency instead, and that's to be expected, too. However, on Monday the 7th, 6 days ago, after Brent Hedrick was optioned back to AAA, despite having been quite good, honestly, which was kind of surprising to me. But I get that Ian Hamilton was coming back. There were things moving and shifting. They re-signed Ottavino again, only to DFA him again Tuesday the 8th since Hamilton returned from the injured list. So, because Devin went on paternity leave and then came back, and then Hamilton was brought back, it was just a lot of transactional stuff with Ottavino. It was a revolving door for him. So, he's a free agent again, though, since he elected it, as opposed to his assignment again for his second DFAing. So, that's that. Just a lot of funny transactional stuff there in the last week with Ottavino, with all the bullpen shifting and everything. And then yesterday, pretty much like I said before, Stroman to what I'm convinced is the phantom injured list with left knee inflammation, whatever. Alan Winans called up in place of him, and it'll be interesting to see how they manage the roster in the coming days going forward, with Clark Schmidt set to make his season debut on Wednesday. But like I said, when it comes to a DFAing or an optioning, they're always going to go with that before a DFA and having to potentially lose someone altogether. And the Yankees need pitching bodies right now. So, as far as the rest of the roster and any other injuries there are to report on, we already mentioned that Schmidt's coming back on Wednesday. What I'm convinced is phantom injured list for Marcus Stroman. Other than that, you have DJ LeMahieu, who, as we know, nobody's in a rush to get him back, but he's still got the same timetable pretty much. He's logging more at-bats at the minor league complex in Tampa, both yesterday and today. And apparently that's a pretty big build-up for him in the eyes of Aaron Boone. He's basically just going through what is his second spring training, and that's pretty much the latest on him. As far as Giancarlo Stanton, he had received his third round of injections on both elbows on the 10th, as we had reported already, and still responded well to that, as I mentioned on the last episode. And he's just hitting off of that high-velocity special pitching machine lately, and he's apparently feeling significantly better with that. While he feels his pain, it's manageable, apparently. So, still going to be a while till we see him, maybe at the end of May. Maybe. Been hearing a lot about Johnny Loizaga lately, which is of much interest to me. We all know I love the guy. He's still coming back from his internal brace surgery very early last year, just like a week or two into the season. Still working his way back from that, but he tossed a bullpen last week on April 5th with Somerset in Double-A. And he's just continued to toss. Had batting practice yesterday at Yankee Stadium, and Boone says he's looking really, really good. Again, when he's healthy, we've mentioned it over and over again, not many other relievers have better stuff than Johnny Lowe. So it'll be big when they get him back, and I'm so excited for that. So I'm not as worried. Despite the bullpen being a disappointment at times here early on, they at least have some stuff to look forward to. Like, they just got Hamilton back, Loizaga's on his way back, Tyler Matzik, who I'm going to talk about next. I'm very curious to see what he brings to the bullpen, and he's going to be back in the coming week or two as well. And that's what they continue to say. He pitched 2 innings on April 9th with AAA, and Boone is expecting him to be big league ready by the end of the month. So, expecting cool things from him. He was with the championship Braves in 2021, as we know, and just has had a little bit of bad luck with injuries and otherwise the last couple of years. So, interested to see what he could bring to the table. Another lefty for the bullpen as well. And you have Luis Gil. We all know that we're not seeing him until, again, I've said probably at least July. But he is starting his throwing program within the next few days here or so. So we should be hearing about his progress in the coming weeks as well as he starts with that. Scott Efros, they still have no idea what's going on with him. He's been throwing, but just an anomaly, riddled with injuries. I'm not sure we'll see him again. We'll see. Still just says TBD next to everything expected with him as far as a return. Jake Cousins, he is eligible to return on May 26th, and he's just sort of been around, I guess. You haven't really heard too much on him. He was throwing from 90 feet for a while, a month ago, around the time of March 17th, and then they were saying he could return to a mound by the week of April 6th. But you haven't really heard too much about him in the last week or so, so he's just thrown from a mound as of now. Not much. So he's just still on the shelf. Clayton Beater, still possible he returns in May, but not much news from him. He's just throwing in side sessions as of now. Not much else to report on him, not much going on. JT Brubaker, complete question mark, as he has been since the second the Yankees traded for him. And you have the two guys who are definitely out for the year. As far as the minor leagues, you have Chase Hampton, and obviously there's Garrett Cole. So, that's that as far as the latest with the roster and injuries, my friends. Let's wrap up with the social media segment real quick. And obviously, again, we don't have a lot of replies at all to this because I kind of screwed up and posted it really late. But nonetheless, got an open-ended question. And the question is, granted it's early, outside of Max Fried, can you recall a Yankee starting rotation that has looked worse than this one has so far in your time as a Yankee fan? And that could vary. You could be a fan for 50 years, you could be a fan for 5 years. Just in your time, have you seen many others that are in worse shape than this current one right now outside of Max Fried? Me personally, I haven't really, to be honest. Every Yankee rotation I've seen has had at least like 2 really solid arms, to be honest. And granted, this is a really small sample size, as long as they don't get much more reinforcements for it outside of Clark Schmidt in a few days. I mean, it could very well stay this way if not much other help is brought in. So they're in really bad shape. I think I've basically said everything I had to say about them at some point earlier on in the show, right? So let's get to hearing some of your thoughts. Only a few people. Let's start off with @Matthew_Orso saying, if I recall, 2005 was also pretty annoying with Carl Pavano and Jarrett Wright. It didn't shape up until Sean Chacon and Aaron Small arrived and Randy Johnson dominated in September. Yeah, that's valid. Yeah, Sean Chacon was an interesting one. Spent a lot of his time as a reliever as well, but then some time closing. And he had a lot of years where he wasn't great, but with the Yankees, he definitely shaped up, as you put it. But yeah, good points. 2005, at least early on. And that's definitely one of the ones that comes to mind. But that was maybe like a year or two before I started watching the Yankees, so first-hand experience, did not experience that, but interesting. @Lee_W18 says, I'm 53 and lived through the early 90s, so yes. Fair enough. I mean, I'm pretty sure there are quite a few from that time period to pick from, so definitely don't blame you there. Early 90s were rough for the Yankees, so I understand that. I, on the other hand, was not born, so there's that. Up next, we have @FundamentalsNYY saying 2005 rotation, finished with a 4.59 ERA. Yeah, just like the other guy said. So, a couple of guys referencing 2005. I wouldn't be surprised if this ends up fairly close to that, though, honestly, if they don't find more reinforcements or just have somebody step up the way that they really need to. And then we have, let's see who's next. We'll make this our last one before our usual final two. We have Rebecca @PeaceNowForLife, and Rebecca says early 90s were really bad. This team got decimated by injuries. You can't predict that. But yeah, this rotation is pretty bad. Hopefully getting Schmidt back this week will help. Yeah, you hope. But he's still not going to be fully built back up by then, and it's not a guarantee he'll stay healthy because Schmidt has had quite a bit of injury troubles the last couple of years, and injuries that have kept him out a decent amount of the time. Not that this is a decent amount of time. It's only been a couple of weeks here to start the year, but you hope he has no more down the line. Because if he does, then again, you're in this really bad hole here. But yeah, you got a couple of people here in the replies mentioning a couple of things from the last few decades or so. The main ones seem to be early 90s and 2005. Seems to be the main ones. Valid mentions, for sure. Let's finish up with the usual final two, though. First up, as always, is my girlfriend, Vic Salimo, saying, honestly, no, and I may be exaggerating, but this has been atrocious so far. We've been saying for a long time that we need better pitching. It's really showing through now. Yeah, like I said before, especially with missing Cole, I thought it'd take a little bit more time to feel the sting of that, but it is immediate. Stinks so far. And last but certainly not least, as always, is my mom, Julia Gina Scudero. She says, hi, Mike. This one's easy. I think they're all a disaster one way or another. Even if they start strong, they crumble eventually. Not long after. This year they started crumbling. Looked great on paper, but these men are made of paper. All the injuries. I'm quite sick of it. Hoping our bats are lively this year to save us from the pitching. So far, I'm pleased with the bats, mostly. Missed you last week, Mike. Let's go Yankees. Thank you, Mom. Yeah. And thank you to the rest of you as well, obviously, those who had replied in the limited time I gave you. I really appreciate it. Yeah, all of them are a disaster except for Fried. And I don't want to jinx him for his next start in a couple of days, but he's been really solid. His first start, he was a major victim of a lot of errors, including one of his own on that day. But other than that, been fantastic, as expected. Again, early on, like with the rest of them. But, yeah, the rest is just not looking good. Even if they do start out good first 2-3 innings, you're right, it gets to them eventually. That's how a lot of the starts have gone. And they did come in looking great, but injuries happen and they've severely changed the dynamic, to say the least. Everyone is sick of the injuries, for sure. But the bats, they have their lively days, but they're not always going to be lively. No offense is lively every day. That's why it's good to have at least competent pitching for that barbell approach. Have that back you up on days where the offense goes quiet, but they don't have that. On any day where the bats score, like even as much as 4 runs, or anything even less than that, they're at automatic danger of losing the game nowadays. It's not a fun brand of baseball. Even if it's an early brand, it's not a fun brand. So, totally understood, and I'm in agreement with a lot of what you guys said. And next episode in a couple of weeks, I promise I'll give you more time to respond to another social media segment. Especially since that'll be the last episode for a month plus. So I'll definitely make sure I'm on top of my crap for that, despite how much I have going on lately. But for now, guys, this was a long one, but understandably so. I had an awful lot to say coming into this one. Again, I know it's early. Said that 10,000 times this episode alone, but still had a lot to say. A lot to get off my mind and a lot to catch up on because we haven't spoken in a couple of weeks. And it was really the first 2 weeks mainly of the new season. Other than opening weekend, because we got to talk for that last time. But had a lot to catch up on, a lot to discuss. So hope you guys enjoyed nonetheless. But that does do it for episode 254 today, my friends. Remember to follow me on all socials as always. Facebook fan page, Mike Scudero NY. My Twitter or X is at Mike Scudero. My Instagram is Mike Scuds97. Subscribe to Yapping Yankees on all 4 platforms it is available on. That's YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and SoundCloud. Like, subscribe, comment, do your thing across all platforms to show your love and spread the word about the show like you always do such a great job of doing, my friends. And if you have the time and you've missed any past Yapping Yankees episode 1, almost 6 years ago, all the way up to episode 254 today, all of those episodes, every single one, the entire history of Yapping Yankees, could be found on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. But if you're more of a YouTube person, which I definitely understand, just know that in case you don't already know, that I didn't start uploading episodes there until episode 34. So if you want to listen on there, you could hear any episode from 34 all the way up to 254 today. Once again, though, I thank you 3,000 for listening to me yap today. As always, my good friends, I have been your host, Mike Scudero, and we shall yap again on Sunday, April 27th, 2 weekends from now, when I come at you with episode 255 of Yapping Yankees. And be sure to be there for it. And next Sunday, where there's no Yapping Yankees, you can listen back to this one or any other one as always, but be sure to be there for that one because, again, that's my last episode until the month of June. So as they always say, be there or be square for sure. Episode 255 on April 27th. That'll be the next episode. But until then, guys, hang in there. Be patient. Please stay safe. Look out for your loved ones. You know the deal. Go ahead and kick life's ass this week, as I always tell you to do, my friends. And since I won't be talking to you next weekend, everybody please have a very happy and safe Easter. Enjoy it with your loved ones, family, friends, whoever you're spending it with. Have the best time. Easter is one of my favorite holidays, so I'm looking forward to it. And I hope you all have a great holiday as well. But have a happy, happy Easter, everybody. And hopefully the Yankees help us to having an even happier Easter. And that they don't play the way that they have been most of the time this last week to a week and a half. Because that would definitely allow us to have a happier Easter if they didn't do that. Hopefully you see some improvement from them and the pitching becomes at least a little more tolerable. That's really all I can ask at this point. And hopefully Clark has a good season debut back as well. Excited to see him. But we'll see what happens and see where the Yankees will be by the end of April when we yap again on the 27th. But until then, my friends, take care and let's go Yanks.